Well. We are back with another episode talking NBA and surprisingly not talking NBA Finals right off the rip because Kevin and I were talking off the mic and we feel like this news is at least a little newer and more timely. Quin Snyder, head coach of the Utah Jazz, stepping down from the team, which I think, at least for me, kind of shocked me. I mean, he was what? He was a coach of the year finalist just last season. He won nearly 60% of his games with the franchise. I felt like he was considered one of the better coaches. Now, I know what we will get into here in a second is there is some questions with the team going forward, specifically with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, and what is the direction of the team now, because at this point they're just beating their head against the wall and something's got to change.
Well, and I think that's what it gets down to. And for the record, when we get started, we're saving the finals talk because the finals talk is the main entree. This is the appetizer right now. We can't get you guys the entree. Well, you want to eat the steak before the fries or the potatoes or the asparagus or whatever you got? You got to appreciate the sides a
Well,
little
hold
bit
on.
as well.
No,
But
here's the thing. Like in that scenario, I'm eating asparagus, steak, and then the fries.
I would generally agree with that. I mean, I guess it depends how big the steak is. Like, because
Yeah,
if you
sure.
got a big full T-bone, then yeah, I'm probably gonna want to split it up and put something else in the middle. You
Well,
don't.
not even
But
that.
I'm
Honestly, if
with you.
it's
You gotta
that
start with the
much,
veggie. You gotta light it off. You gotta keep it light first.
and I'll be honest with you, if it's a massive steak, I'm probably just starting with the steak because my goal is to get the whole steak in, and then if there's no room, I'd rather be
Yeah.
no room for the fries and the veggies.
Oh yeah, the side look sides at nice steakhouses are low key one of the better parts of it. I feel like that's an underrated element of going to the steakhouse. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, listen. It's called a steakhouse for a reason. Like I'm there
Right.
for the meat. Uh,
Get that wagyu Arby's burger or something.
Yo, okay. I was gonna say you balling on a budget, okay, but now I've seen that commercial so many times. We got to talk about when the finals are over. The three commercials that I've now seen at least 100 times in the playoffs. I've got that Zach LaVine Mountain Dew ad just permanently
Or
occupying
oh yeah,
space in my head.
with Charlie from It's
Yeah,
Always
from
Sunny.
Always Sunny. Oh yeah,
The other one that
Just
the other one that I would love to do one day is celebrity food meal endorsements, because Jack Harlow's got the KFC collaboration, and Justin Bieber had the what is it, Tim Hortons collab, and BTS had the McDonald's one. It'd be like,
well,
would there ever be a celebrity collab that would make you go, I need to buy that meal, I need to buy that food, because I don't get it.
No, no, not at all. I mean, I get why they do it. It's a brand, and in the sense of, so I mean, Jack Harlow's from Kentucky, so in the sense, like, I
Yes,
completely get KFC there. What was the second one you mentioned after Jack Harlow? Oh, Justin Bieber with Tim Hortons.
Bieber,
Justin Bieber with Tim Hortons makes a
Hortons.
ton of sense. Tim Hortons is the most popular Canadian chain out there. Like,
What
it's
about
one of their most famous exports
who
on that front.
was? I mean, at this point, Doja Cat, if she's not, should just have a meal with Taco Bell, and it should just be the Mexican pizza. If they could keep it in stock, you know what I mean? Like she talks that stuff up all the time. Didn't Was it Cardi? Somebody had another one with McDonald's. I know BTS had one, but
Oh,
I want to
Travis
say it was
Scott
like
had one.
Travis. That's who I was thinking of. Yes.
Everybody was going. That was the first one. Everybody was going crazy with that because that was when you could put Travis Scott's name on anything and it would sell like hotcakes. And now, then Astro World happened, and I don't really know if you want to put Travis Scott's name on everything anymore after that.
He
We're
had
still kind
those.
of in that.
What kind of killed it for me, from like a collab thing, is I think Travis Scott came out with like his own chicken nuggets, quote unquote, and they weren't like with McDonald's or anything. They were just their own thing. And but it was like a Grubhub or something type collaboration. And so I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Like, I wonder if I can get that. I'll do a video for the radio stations that I'm on. Like, let's do a whole thing. Um, and if I remember correctly, I looked it up, and all it was a specific sauce that Travis Scott was saying was his. And essentially, what was happening was the companies that wanted to say they had Travis Scott's like nuggets would buy that sauce from them for a certain expense, and then you would go and buy these nuggets, but it would geolocate you and you would essentially be ordering them from like an Applebee's or something. And I was like, "Oh, this is no fun. Like this isn't cool." So that's what killed it for me in terms of the celebrity collaborations. I felt like it was fake.
Yeah, it's all well, it is all fake. It's all marketing at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like, it's all just trying to like, the food hasn't changed at all. There's something like the Travis Scott meal, because Jay Balvin had one too. But like the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's was just something like a Big Mac,
that's right.
fries, and some barbecue sauce or something like that. It's not like they reinvented the wheel or like made something special for it. Maybe if they made something special for it, it'd be a little different. Like if they had a new menu item, but I
Right.
don't care about like if I want McDonald's, I'm just gonna go get McDonald's. I'm not gonna go because Travis Scott told me to get McDonald's.
And honestly,
Um,
I'm not a big a big fast food person in general. Like if honestly, it sounds so bad, but if I'm like getting fast food, I'm going to like a Wawa, which I know is very specific to certain locations, but like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just hitting something that like can give me a sandwich or something, not a $2 burger or whatever they
Well,
are now.
it's just kind of we know what it is. Like fast food is definitely good, but it's
Yeah.
everyone on earth knows by now in 2022 it's not good for you. So you just don't
Mhm.
want to OD on it. Back to Quin Snyder, who is no longer the coach of the Utah Jazz. I mean, look, it sounds like because this is interesting in the sense that this is basically the most mutual firing I think I've ever seen. Like they held a press conference today to talk about each other leaving. And it basically was Quin Snyder saying that, hey, halfway through the season, he wasn't feeling it anymore. It kind of was him saying what we're all saying, right? That roster just had kind of, he didn't agree with all the decisions. The roster had kind of peaked out. They've underachieved here the past 2 seasons. I mean, after they were the 1 seed and didn't get past the second round, I mean, this year, the way it was going, and really the icing on the cake, losing to Dallas, who didn't have Luka even for the first 2 games of that series, like that's pretty alarming if you're Utah. Um, and so I guess the surprise isn't there. Quin Snyder is one of the league's best coaches. Like, let me be as clear as possible. Every team in the NBA that has a vacancy should be trying to line up to get this guy. Now, if you believe the reports, he's going to take the year off. And then the popular theory is that Popovich is going to retire and that he's going to take the reins there in San Antonio.
Ooh.
Obviously, plenty of previous history there, so that would completely make sense. If Quin Snyder's as fried as he made it sound like, then I completely get taken the year off too. Like that's the thing is he's such a good coach that this isn't a situation where if he takes a season off that people are going to kind of forget about him. Like he had a pretty incredible run of success with this Utah team. And
It
so
wasn't
I think he won
it wa
132 games during his Utah tenure in the year over the past few
Oh,
seasons. So
I was actually just
yeah,
looking at it.
definitely this is a pretty big blow for Utah. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, we're already in a season of uncertainty. And then, of course, the reports are out there that Woj bombed right away that Donovan Mitchell was floored by the decision. Of course, he's getting ready for the max contract. That's the big question that we have in Utah, right? Is do you go Gobert? Do you go with Donovan Mitchell? Do you blow it up? Certainly every team that remotely has any interest in Donovan Mitchell is getting ready and preparing their offers right now. I think everybody should be doing their homework there. If you believe the reports so far that Utah is completely just not even opening negotiations and basically saying, no, he's untouchable. This is who we want to build our roster around. It's going to be a tough, long off season for Utah. There's no doubt about it. They already had a number of decisions to make. And now on top of that, you got to replace a pretty good coach. It did seem like towards the end that Quin Snyder could get scapegoated. I don't think in this case he was scapegoated, but I mean, yeah, a tumultuous end of the season for Utah, and now an off season of intrigue gets even more intriguing.
Do you think you have to replace the coach before you make any decisions going forward? Like, you have to, like, coach is the first move you have to do.
No, I think now you kind of got your time. If anything, I might want to see what you're going to
But
do roster wise. And if you have a specific coach that almost maybe fits the roster more stylistically, um, you're obviously out of the playoffs now. You still have a long way to go. I'm not suggesting you let this drag into training camp or anything, but I think you as a front office kind of try to figure out your philosophy first and make sure you're all on the same page before you bring in a coach. Like, I don't want to bring in a coach, for example, who's more of a developmental guy if the Jazz for some reason decide to just go in the tank, or bring in some guy who's a win now mode if they decide that, maybe we want to rebuild and retool a little bit, reset, and make another run at it here in a year or two. Like, that's the thing is Utah's got options. I mean, that's the one thing as well with the franchise, like obviously if they trade Donovan Mitchell, they're going to get a lot back. Like that would spring load a rebuild extremely quickly. I think Gobert is going to get a pretty good haul as well. Like there are a number of teams who are in need of big men right now. Obviously, Rudy is extremely good. So Utah does have a little bit of flexibility on that front, but it's going to be a long off season. We're going to see what happens. This is not the last time we're going to be talking about the Jazz.
Well, and it kind of might be one of those situations too, like you were saying, is when they do go and get whatever coach or whoever coach they do get, it might tip their hat a little bit to what they're deciding to do with their future. Like you're saying, if they go hire the guy that's a developmental guy, but they haven't traded anybody, it's like, okay, well, maybe that means they're a little more open to the market and taking a little more seriously the calls for those players than maybe we thought they were, you
Yeah,
know?
no, that 1000%. And like I said, we're going to see. If I don't know. I mean, there have been a couple names floating around. The most notable is Terry Stotts, obviously, who coached in Portland for a while. There were a lot of people saying that Stotts is interested in going to Utah, so maybe you see him jump back in the ring. Um, but yeah, you're gonna. I mean, especially if you're, it sure seems like keeping Donovan Mitchell is on the line right now. Like you're at that point with the
Sure.
franchise. These next moves matter. So yeah, Utah is they're it's going to have to happen. There's no doubt about it.
Unless you're not trying to keep Donovan, then, you at least try to make it nice enough so that he doesn't say much and lower his value or tip the cap in that direction and make other teams know that that's the goal or the
Well,
the idea.
yeah, of course. I mean, right, and that's the thing. And again, they have flexibility there, so at least you got to be
Mhm.
pretty happy about that. I think Donovan Mitchell will be there next season. I think it seems like Rudy's going to get traded if need be. I'm not even saying I agree with that. I don't know that that's the right call, um, but we shall see. And I think from a fan base perspective, it would probably do a lot more damage getting rid of Donovan Mitchell. Like Donovan Mitchell's been
Yeah.
their guy, but it also is one of these things too, where it's like, look, if he wants out, you get better to get on
Get
it
your
early than
money.
get burnt. When Donovan Mitchell can get you a king's ransom right now, as
And
opposed to if he asks out, then you're just it's over.
And I should say, bring it back to what you were talking about. Quin Snyder was 372 and 264 in his time with the Jazz. He had a
Oh,
winning
okay.
percentage of 585, and he was 18th best among NBA coaches who have worked for at least as long as he has.
All right, well that's good. I mean, I just I had the 72 right. Apparently, I just missed it by 200. I did feel like that number was a little weird in an 82 game season, but yeah, no, what definitely will like, and I don't think it speaks to his success. Obviously, that the Jazz were out there with him having this press conference. Like, this is probably the most mutual non-retirement that you will ever see from a pair of coaches in the league. Welcome everybody to this Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rayfuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Kuzart.
Can't be nice to everybody.
I mean, word that you're not wrong. We gotta let's see. Who doesn't want to be nice to everybody? Let's go with Anthony Edwards.
No, Miles Bridges.
Okay, all right. Well, um, yeah, you can't be nice to everybody. Miles Bridges may have a new coach here sooner than later. The
Hmm.
reports out of Charlotte are that the two finalists are Mike D'Antoni and Kenny Atkinson. Um, I mean, stylistically, obviously, D'Antoni seems like it would sure fit perfect there. But Kenny Atkinson's a really good coach, too. Like, I remember when he got fired from Brooklyn, that was a surprising, to say the least. Like, I thought Atkinson did a really good job there. He's one of those guys that if he gets another opportunity, I don't think that would be a bad hire at all for Charlotte. I think they kind of can't really go wrong there.
Yeah, I was reading reports that D'Antoni was, I guess, meeting with the team tonight or something like that. It was popping up on Reddit when we were doing a little research for this episode. So
Yeah,
we'll
LaMelo
see where it
Ball in a
goes.
in a D'Antoni offense does seem to be it would be pretty magical. So we shall see if we get to see that here sooner than later. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
Yes, and find us on YouTube. We're still looking for number 38. If you want to be number 38 subscriber, just look for Driving Dish NBA on YouTube.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So, 2 games into the NBA Finals here. I would say both pretty lopsided in opposite directions. Game number one going to the Boston Celtics. They won that one 120 to 108. And then last night, as of recording this, um, the Celtics went from scoring 120 to only scoring 88, whereas the Warriors stayed pretty consistent with what they put up. They put up 108. It just was Curry just absolutely catching fire in the third quarter, at least from that second game. So, from that, do you learn anything from these two games, and does it change any of your opinions for the finals going forward?
If Golden State had gone down 2-0, they would have. So that was a must win for Golden State
Okay.
in game two, and they took care of their business and they bounced back in a way because, I mean, that game one loss was jarring. There's no way around it. I mean, we'll talk about the third quarter surge a little bit because obviously that's been the Warriors' MO. We know what the deal is. They put
Yeah.
it away, punctuated by the deep Jordan Poole shot to end the quarter there. And game two, it was out of hands. But I mean, I don't want to take away here from game one. I mean, Boston, that was some of the best pure shot making that I've seen since we've started this podcast, honestly. A 40-16 fourth quarter, Al Horford absolutely dominant, quite literally the best playoff game in his NBA Finals debut of his career. Marcus Smart, Derek White playing absolutely phenomenal. And then you come back, the thought after game one, if you're Golden State, is that, there would be more variance, that these guys would come back to earth, that they weren't going to hit every shot they took. That was true to an extent in game two.
Hmm.
They did. Now, I didn't expect it to be that extreme. I mean, Al Horford had 2 points. He had no shot attempts in the first half, which is just absolutely mind boggling. Marcus Smart was terrible for the most part. Derek White wasn't great in terms of shooting the basketball the way he's been over this playoff run. But at the end of the day, like, it's one of these series where I think there's a lot to take for both sides that is good. If you're Boston, you handled your job. You came out of the Bay. You're 1-1. You're going back to Boston. You've got home court advantage. You've got four of these or three of these games of these last five on your home floor. So if you handle your business, you may only need to win one more in Golden State or not at all. So in that sense, if you're Boston, yeah, even with the way you got kind of cooked in game two, I still think you feel pretty good going back to the Garden. And if there's one thing about this Boston team that's been true all year, it is the resiliency. Every time Boston
Hmm.
gets punched in the mouth, they come right back. And I mean, game one was the ultimate example of that, right? Like the Warriors came out up 14 points in the third quarter, and then Boston it wasn't even close at the end of the fourth. Like Boston completely ran away with it. I mean,
Held them to 14 points in that fourth.
yeah, and I mean, there's no way around it. Now, if you're Golden State, I think you also look at this and go, hey, we had maybe the worst, like, or quite literally the worst statistically fourth quarter ever in NBA Finals history by point differential. And we came back and took care of our business in game two, had a pretty resounding win. Our offense was getting the looks they needed to. Steph Curry looks absolutely dominant. I mean, he's been phenomenal. It's probably number one right now in terms of the finals MVP leaderboards.
Yeah.
And how he's played these first two games. I mean, he played all the fourth quarter. It was great. That's the ideal scenario for the Warriors. But again, for Boston, they bounce back from these, right? And again, going back to Boston, you got to feel pretty good about it. The two things to watch, and I think the difference in game two, it all comes down to health a little bit again. I think here with the Warriors, Gary Payton II coming back is a big deal for them. He was extremely efficient defensively last night. He hit his knockdown shots because that's the thing, right? Jordan Poole, especially in the first game, but in the first half as well of the second game, he wasn't hitting
No.
anything. And if Jordan
No.
Poole's not hitting anything, Lord knows he's not giving you much on the
And
defensive side of the ball either. So it kind of makes him, I don't want to say unplayable, but it's super, like, that gives the Celtics an advantage. They can attack there, where when you've got Gary Payton on the floor, that perimeter defense is a lot better if you're Golden State. And so I think him getting
right.
back is a boost. Now, to the counterpoint with Boston, Rob Williams went out in the third quarter. Now, he's been playing hurt this whole playoffs, essentially. And he's, again, has had moments where he's looked great. But if Rob Williams is unable to go for the rest of this series, that is the type of margin when I think these teams are so even that could swing it. Obviously, he's been a tremendous part of this Boston defense. I mean, him and Al Horford have been the key to holding that big down. I know Daniel Tice has played good minutes for them as well, but I don't want heavy Daniel Tice minutes in the NBA Finals. We're going to have to see what Boston does there. We're going to see how that Rob Williams injury looks here in the next few games. But Gary Payton II coming back is a big deal for the Warriors, especially too when, I mean, look, they've needed everything they can get. Klay Thompson hasn't looked great either. I mean, that's a big concern if you're the Warriors because, look, it's one thing if Klay's not hitting shots, but in the past, you always could rely on his defense. Klay was the better perimeter defender on that team. Like, if anything, that was a bigger hallmark of his game at one point, as crazy as that sounds. Klay coming back from injury is a little bit slower than he was beforehand. And so I think at that point, I'm not suggesting that Klay Thompson is going to get stapled to the bench, but in a game like last night where he only has 11 points and he's not shooting efficiently from the field, you do have to worry about that a little bit more. So I think that's worth watching. I think Klay is going to get hot. I just think the way that, the way these shooters are, like, I think we are going to have a Klay game at some point.
Yeah.
You just hope it's not too late. I mean, that's the key here for the Warriors is, you can't play with your food against this Boston team. They're so good defensively that they're going to be in every game largely. Obviously, I know game 2 is a bit of a blowout, but you're going to give that defense credit every single time. I think there's positives and negatives on both sides. I think if you're Boston, yeah, you're a little concerned with how the Warriors offense has kind of gotten what they've wanted at some points. But I think you also, again, you did your job. That's the goal of the final series, right? Like, I don't think there was a scenario where any of us really thought that this was going to be a short series, that one team is going to come in and sweep the other. This is high level basketball, and it's going to be the margins. I think in game 2, I hope Boston, for their sake, I mean, they got distracted, as crazy as it sounds like. And so again, parents earmuffs, because I don't know a better way to describe this. Draymond Green he shithouses some games, right? Like, he just slows it down. He gets you physical. He gets you uncomfortable. He gets in your head, and it throws you off your game a little bit. And I think that's what we saw a little bit here in game 2. Like, Jaylen Brown, who had absolutely dominated this series. I mean, to me, he was the key in that fourth quarter in game 1.
Well, and
He looked thrown off a little bit there after that first tech. Grant Williams was really getting into it with Draymond Green. He's been one of their bigger vocal leaders for Boston this year. I think Boston just needs to tune that out. You know what Draymond's going to do. Like, again, this is what he does, and that's why the Warriors love him. Like, he did get them out of their offense last night. Like, they did commit a lot of turnovers, which maybe you chalk that up to the mental edge there a little bit. Boston's got to take better care of the ball the way they did in game 1. But again, you got to give, that was a peak Draymond shithouse game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Golden State loves him. That's why you hate playing against him if you're an opponent, but you got to give them credit. He got them uncomfortable. And I think Golden State definitely took advantage of that. And that's going to be key. And with Boston going home, I think their home crowd will help there a little bit too, in that regard. Like, I don't think their home crowd, and especially with Draymond being the villain. Now, Dray may feed off that, but I mean, listen, that Boston crowd is going to be into it. They know what the deal is. It's the NBA Finals. So the game 3 atmosphere, I'm really looking forward to, for sure.
Well, and kind of you alluded to it. My thinking is a lot of this series kind of comes down to Jaylen Brown and how he's performing, because, like you said, in game 1, great, and they got the win and they cooked. Game 2, he still played fine, but the percentages were down. Like you said, he looked a little rattled with Draymond. He got into it, and then even after that first tech, he got almost close to getting in trouble a second time when they both kind of were like tied up leg wise, which was weird. So it does feel like me for a Celtics side of things. I think a lot of it comes down to how Jaylen Brown is playing and how he does, because I'm not necessarily concerned about Tatum. He's going to get his 28 whatever points a game, and so I'm not worried about Tatum getting the points. It's more Jaylen Brown I'm looking at, the number 2 guy for the Celtics. Like, if he's not cooking, if he's not doing it efficiently, then we do have a problem here. So
it does have this weird thing where they seem to alternate, right? Because Jaylen Brown was phenomenal in game 1, and Jason Tatum was way better in game 1 than that stat line indicates. I mean, I know
he really showed more of a facilitator side of things.
No,
like, he
and I
was
think
willing to make the pass.
Yeah, and that's what elite players do. Like, that to me is what that was a superstar moment for him, where I think if you look at the box score, you go, man, 3 of 17, he was horrible. Like, how did they even win without that? The facilitating. That's why. Fourth quarter, he was completely in control of the tempo.
He had
I think there's something to be said about when your shot isn't falling, but you make the right play and the winning play. And I think that's what we saw from Tatum in game 1. Obviously, he was a lot better offensively in terms of getting the ball to the basket in game 2 here. Jaylen Brown, again, I just think Draymond Green made him really, really uncomfortable. And that is something that he has to avoid. I think the other thing too is that, again, back to Gary Payton coming back, Jaylen Brown, the Warriors just didn't really have anybody to guard him. Like it just felt like he was getting his first
Mhm.
step against anybody that they wanted. Now we're here a little bit, you can kind of put a better defender in front of him. Um, Jaylen Brown's handle is a little loose. I think we all know that by now. Sometimes when he goes to the cup, it can be a little out of control. I think if the Warriors have better defenders the way they do now, you'll be able to kind of help with that a little bit more. And give Steph Curry a lot of credit too, man. Defensively, he's been great. Like he's never going to be a
Mhm.
lockdown guy, but he's consistently been in the right place. The effort's been there. I think that's a part of his game that doesn't get talked about the way it should, or at least in this run. Like he's really D'd up when they've needed it.
Yeah, I agree. And the last little thought on the Tatum thing. I mean, he had 7 assists in game 1 by the end of the first half, which I think shows that what we were just talking about, his ability or his willingness to pass it, which you don't find very often in players. So, um, I made a bet with a coworker. We have a, by the way, he suggested we bring this to the podcast. Him and I have we call it our degenerate gambling board, and it
Okay.
sits in my office, and we just write, whatever we're betting on. Just it really is anything. So I took Celtics in 6 or Warriors in 7, and he has the field.
Oh, yo, you're fine. You're way better.
Mhm.
I think those two are the most likely outcomes, honestly.
Yeah,
I look, I know again, Boston's won on the road in game 7. They just did it in Miami in the conference finals.
yeah,
I know your greatest call probably ever on this podcast was calling Cleveland in 7 in
dude.
2016. That's a like I'm still always going to defer to the home team, especially in the finals, and especially if I'm the Warriors who have been here before. Like you don't really
Yeah.
expect them to be scared of the moment. I do think this is. I mean, my original pick was Warriors in 7. I'm pretty hard pressed to move off that. Now, if Boston wins games 3 and 4, then obviously we're in a whole new planet, and I do think it closes in 6. I don't think Boston is going to gentleman sweep them. Like I think both of these teams are too good to get gentlemen swept. Like I always felt like this was going to be a long series no matter what.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I feel like the Vegas odds have to be the best on Golden State in 7 and Boston in 6. No, like Boston in 7 is probably getting a lot of play as well. And I'm sure Golden State in
Mhm.
6 is, kind of more to the longer series point. But
That's what I'm
um,
hoping for. I honestly just also and selfishly, I know, if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, a Boston Celtics fan, you're fine with the outcomes of your wins, but for like an entertaining value, I know we talked about this already. I would like it to be where games are being decided by in the last 10 seconds of the game. Like let's get to a point where we're not getting the third quarter is essentially the end of the game in some of these.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
the first game was at least good in the sense that it wasn't close by the end. Like we didn't have those clutch time moments a little bit, but at
but it
least that
still
fourth
was
quarter
competitive.
was supremely entertaining. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean even the first, like the Warriors were hitting shots with the Celtics. That's the thing is like it was just it starts snowballing. Like I think the
Yeah.
moment for me in game 1 was when Derek White hit that one to tie the game, and I mean he had Steph draped on him like a blanket. And it was just one of those shots where it was like, oh, it's one of these nights for Boston. Everything is going in. I do love the dad strength Derek White jokes too. That how we're, if he can pull it off, he will be the first dad strength recipient since Freddie Van Vliet won the Finals MVP back in 2019. So
Well, and so I mean, obviously we've got a few more games, like you were saying. They're going to Boston. It's. I think if I had to make a prediction for Game 3, I think it's going to go Boston's way. We'll see, though. I think a lot of it, like you were just alluding to, though, is going to come down to Draymond and being able to get in their head a little bit.
So I had it flipped the way it played out. I thought the Warriors were going to win game 1, and I thought Boston was going to win game 2. Obviously, it
Okay,
went the exact opposite of that. I'm with you. I think Boston is going to win game 3. I think they're going to feed off that energy. I'm also inclined to think the refs are going to call it a little tighter. I mean, it was
you
physical and
gotta,
chippy, and like it was
yeah.
the bad blood was flowing for sure in game 2. I
What
think
was
it'll
it
be a
you
little
said
tighter.
for? You said sorry. I was just thinking. You said with was it you said with Gary Payton or was it with Derek White? The shot that made you were like, oh man, this is it because I also feel that way for Jordan Poole in Game 2 when
Oh
he
yeah,
hit
of
that
course.
It
100%. You
was
knew they
like,
weren't
oh,
losing when they hit that shot. I
yeah,
mean, I didn't think they were going to lose the game before that, given how the third quarter went. But when Poole hit that shot, that's just when you go, yo, it's one of those nights. Like, what are you going to do?
it is, yeah,
That's the way I felt again. Yeah, with that Derek White shot in game one, that's exactly the way I felt. It just, I thought it was going, you know, at that point when they're hitting every shot like that, like look, sometimes
everything.
when it rains and pours, it happens.
Hmm.
I do think Boston wins 3 though. I think Golden State wins 4. I think we're going back to the Bay
Okay.
tied. And then we'll see what happens from there. That game 5, obviously, if it's tied, will be the most crucial, at least for Golden State. Boston, at least if nothing else, you're going back to your home floor for game 6. I think you do kind of have a little bit of a little bit of help there. That's kind of, there's an argument to go back to 2-3-2 based on how that plays sometimes.
Yeah,
Where if you're the away team and you steal game 5, you got to feel pretty good going into game 6. I still think 2-2, 1-1-1 is the way to go, but
yeah,
um, I think David Aldridge tweeted that he was missing 2-3-2, and I started thinking about that. But no, I'm still sticking with 2-2, 1-1-1. But either way, after a lack of a competitive conference finals, to say the least, I'm pretty
right.
happy this is tied 1-1. The level of basketball has been good, and hopefully it carries over. Like I said, game 2 was really exciting. The first game is pretty exciting as well. So, we just won a good series. That's the most important thing. I think we kind of know these playoffs have been duds other than the first round. So, basketball gods reward us a little bit here. All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like to start with good for the bad. So Justin and I are on the same page this week.
Hmm.
So balling for us is Rasheed Wallace joining Darvin Ham's staff on the Lakers as an assistant head coach. Obviously, Sheed is one of the most colorful characters the NBA has ever had. He and Darvin Ham played on the Pistons team together that won the title. First major gig for Rasheed Wallace like this. I love it. Like I love Sheed as a personality. I think it's gonna be hilarious watching him coach. Like I can just I feel like Anthony Davis needs a Rasheed Wallace in his life. Like Rasheed Wallace
Maybe,
is gonna
yeah.
give you that tough love. You need that tough love guy in LA land after last year. I love it. I mean, she's gonna have a ton of respect too, obviously, play the game the right way. One of the icons of the early 2000s. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see Sheed coaching.
Yeah, he spent last year coaching at University of Memphis with Penny Hardaway.
Mhm.
So definitely qualified in that way. I saw a lot of Pistons fans posting under it. They're like, "Damn it, they're really gonna make me try to like the Lakers." And I was like, "Yay!"
I mean,
So yeah, I mean,
the Pistons got over the Lakers in that title way back in the day. So I
mhm.
don't want to say it's coming full circle, but
In a
a
way, it is.
little
But
bit.
yeah, it's one of those things like you were saying though, Rasheed Wallace. You kind of might need that kind of person, coach in that locker room now for next year to kind of give you that tough love, to kind of give you that kind of just suck it up mentality in a way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right,
Hmm.
so who's fallen for you this week?
Fallen for me is going to go to Sharif O'Neal, who is obviously son of Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal. This was like weird. So I thought this had already gone through, but then I guess today there was some confusion that he had elected to go to the 2022 NBA draft. But I guess the league informed teams, they sent out a list of entry prospects that opted to withdraw from the draft, and he was on it. And so a lot of people were like, "Oh wow, that's kind of surprising that he went back." That was not the case. So he's still in the NBA draft for 2022, and here we are.
All right, well, I mean, that's good if that's what he wants, right? So at least
Hmm.
the process was falling for sure.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
yes.
at least you got that going, so that's definitely good.
Hmm.
Obviously when your dad Shaq, no pressure or anything like that. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that's terrifying. It says he is 6'10", um, at least on the tweet from Woj. So
well, that is a pretty good source, so you can't really go
yeah,
wrong with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right, so fallen for me is the curse of Landry Shamet, and shout out to my cat Cadge for bringing this to my attention because this is crazy. I mean, first off, it's crazy reminder how many teams Landry Shamet has already played for having a
Hmm.
4-year NBA career. So how about this? Every team Landry Shamet has been on since coming into the league and that he's played for has lost in the second round of the playoffs in 7 games. In 2019, with the Sixers, lost to the
Mhm.
Raptors in 7. In 2020, with the Clippers, lost to the Nuggets in 7. In 2021, with the Nets, lost to the Bucks in 7. And in 2022, this year with the Suns, lost to the Mavs in 7, all in the
Yikes.
second round. Just how?
Dude, that's insane. And he's had decent seasons too. Like if you look at his numbers, they're not, they're pretty decent. So I mean, I guess we're gonna have to like watch it and see what happens next year if he's still with the Suns and see what happens. But I mean, at this point, do you think there's no way that like NBA coaches talk about that, right? There's no way.
I don't think NBA coaches realize that. Like, I didn't realize that until today. That's insane to think about. I mean,
Mhm.
what are the odds of that happening? Like, not only just
Or
the second round bounce is one thing because he's on consistently good teams, so I understand that. Like Landry Shaman's like again been on pretty good teams since he's come to the league. There's
Mhm.
never like a absolute bust of a squad that he's been on. It's just really crazy that they all happen in 7 too. Like even losing in the second round, I could understand. Only 4 teams make it to the conference finals each year. Losing in 7 games in every one of those series is actually insane.
that has to be heartbreaking for him.
Well,
Like him.
they're all pretty
Oh,
brutal too. I mean, other than Brooklyn, like the Brooklyn was, I mean, I guess it's heartbreaking in a sense because KD's foot was on the line. It was a half size too big, and they would have
yeah.
won that series. But like that one, at least you can go and say, hey, we went toe to toe. What are you going to do? 2019, you got the Kawhi shot. 2020, you have just the choke job against Dallas, the Doc Rivers Clipper choke job version 2. And then this year, obviously, just this year, it wasn't as heartbreaking. It was just more devastating the way that Phoenix
Mhm.
obviously just got crushed and blown out of the water by Dallas in that game 7.
Ugh.
So, um, it really is. It's remarkable. It's borderline unbelievable.
Yeah, that's painful, man. You feel bad for him, but hopefully he can break the curse next year and break it in a way. I mean, getting past that round, not a losing before it type thing, or not making it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right,
Hmm.
speaking of breaks, it's time to do some NBA Top Shot pack rips. We are top shotting again.
Oh yeah,
Have a playoff conference finals pack right here, our moment. And so what, we've done one of these before with the playoffs moments?
this yes, but not the conference finals. I think ours was from the first round, which we
Okay.
got two of the same Green Allens. If you if you remember, thankfully, I do remember, and I haven't been able to sell either of those moments, so I'm really excited about that.
Okay, well that's super great. Always, the boom and bust of NBA Top Shot, if you will. But
Mhm.
I'll obviously follow along with everything or with every pack that we've opened so far. Plenty of these throughout the regular season. Now a couple here in the playoffs. Follow Justin's profile at Squeaky9000.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
got to put that in the bottom of your thing, man. I got refused to lose next to mine every time. You
Oh,
don't put
I
Justin
do
C
have
on the air. Maybe we got to put Squeaky9000 in there or what?
yeah, Squeaky 9000's gotta show up soon. Oh, I need to zoom out. Sorry for the now I'm messing everything up. For the for the YouTube viewers. I gotta zoom out a little bit so we can see our whole pack. Again, this one is 4.
Yep.
3 across the top, 1 across the bottom. Let's check for shiny. That
That's a good
one's
one. Okay, good
pulsing a
start.
bit. Top left is good. Top
Not bad.
middle was also doing the same. Okay, not as good on the far right.
Ooh.
That's good. Far right, and not as good at the bottom. All right, so it looks like we got to go top right or bottom. Which one are you feeling?
All right, we did bottom first last time, so let's do top right.
All right, top right. Click in to reveal. It is a
Oh, go
dunk from
Magic.
Mo Bamba. Ooh, behind the back pass.
Running the
Ooh,
floor. All right, Cole Anthony, sweet time. Yeah, Mo
ooh.
running the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all
The
right.
the Orlando Magic did win this game against the Trailblazers 113-95. This happened back on February 8th of 2022. Mo ended up with 13 points, 9 rebounds in that game.
And you still got the number 1 overall pick, so you're not even upset about that loss if you're or a win if you're a Magic fan. That's it's a good one. Man, Mo Bamba, he's going to be one of the interesting targets this offseason.
Yeah.
I'm really it's especially worth watching him in general. I mean, A, whether he comes back to Orlando or not, depending on what the contract looks like, but B, if DeAndre Ayton gets moved, which seems more and more likely by the day that DeAndre Ayton is not going back to Phoenix,
Yeah.
Mo Bamba, A, would be a really good replacement there. Given the way that Phoenix uses their big men, like I think he would fit that role extremely well.
Sure.
But I also think there are a lot of teams who are keeping an eye. I think Detroit's one who maybe is keeping an eye. I think Portland's keeping an eye out as well. So
You know,
uh,
if I'm the Mavericks, we talked about this probably last episode. You know, obviously Aiton's going to be number one you're looking for if you're trying to get a big man, but I mean maybe a backup would be a Mo Bamba type situation if the Orlando Magic are willing to deal, you know?
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. I think, I mean, if he plays the backup role, I think he can be an elite backup role. Now, I will say there's something to be said about Mo was the guy in Orlando, like he was supposed to
Mhm.
be. Vooch in front of him is not a big deal. I don't think anybody's going to really,
Right.
doubt that necessarily. But I mean, Wendell Carter is the guy that they've signed long term now, and I mean, Wendell Carter was, I don't want to say throw in because he was very young and very good in his first season with
Right,
Chicago, but like
right.
Wendell Carter was borderline an afterthought when he got thrown into the deal with Orlando in the Vucevic trade. And he's the guy that ended up getting the contract and kind of looks like he's going to be a piece moving forward and may play that backup big role. But I mean, there's still a lot of upside with Mo Bamba. So I think, I mean,
Agreed.
with if nothing else, somebody's going to take a flyer on him. I do think he
Agreed.
can still defend pretty well. He can shoot. Like, I mean, he had that. I mean, geez, it was that game where him and Embiid were dueling. They both were like 50 and 42 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see what Mo Bamba's market looks like this summer.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go with the bottom one then. That is the lesser of the three that are left. We'll click to reveal. It looks like a Detroit Pistons block from Isaiah Stewart back on November 2nd of 2021. They did lose the game to the Milwaukee Bucks 89 to 117. Oof, that is a I think I remember that block.
Who's that on? Is that on Giannis's brother?
It might have been. I didn't see it. I was reading the description. Hold on, I'll pull it up again. Um
I think so, because 37's
Ooh, I don't think that's no.
no, it's definitely not. Never mind. The jersey's not. I looked at the last name. I'm like, it's not nearly long enough to be honest.
Yeah,
I thought he was.
the
Or no, you know what? Costas is 37 on the Lakers. That's why.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
okay, so yeah,
That's an aggressive block, by the way, from Isaiah Stewart.
we got some barn burners so far, by the way. Orlando and
Yeah.
Detroit. Really,
Mhm.
the two teams that were setting the league on fire last year. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, and I would say the serial numbers aren't necessarily the greatest on those two. So now we are on to the pulsing the pulsing ones. Are you going left or are you going middle? What are you
Let's
thinking?
let's go. Let's go middle. Why not?
Middle?
I feel like we always leave the middle for last.
All right, middle. Here we go. It is a Miami Heat block from PJ Tucker
Okay.
in the playoffs. Oof. Oh, did he even block that? Oh, and a steal. Okay, a block and a
Yeah, you got
steal.
it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Grant Williams is in the jungle there. There were like three defenders on him, but
Yeah, it really was.
um,
Great. That was a win, by the way. That was in the playoffs, obviously, May 22nd of 2022. That was a Miami Heat win against the Boston Celtics. So that's not a horrible moment. The number serial wise isn't great. I love the photo they used for PJ
what's
Tucker
the
sitting on
so
the ground.
what's the because you're looking at that screen on a little bigger. What's the serial number there?
This serial number is 1,523 of 8,250.
Okay, so that's not bad. Top
No,
eighth.
it's not bad. It's not bad. I am about to be really, really mad if this next one's a PJ Tucker.
Oh, if it's PJ
block.
Tucker, I think we're done. We might be done with Top Shot if it's PJ Tucker again. If it's back to back weeks, then there's just the Top Shot gods do not want us to prosper. If that's the point we're at.
No, so I do like that though. PJ Tucker, that's a good moment there. We'll see what we can get for it. But I am excited to see what we have here on the left. Because and obviously this one I would imagine should be a playoff moment like PJ Tucker's
I
is.
think so too. Yeah, I mean with the brighter glow underneath it.
Right, right. So here we go. Okay, Dallas Mavericks
All
jump
right, it's
shot
not
from
PJ Tucker. All right. Oh, it's
Luka.
Luca. Okay. All right.
A Luka shot. They did not win this game. Ooh, Is that
Oh, is
does
that
that
the
count
one
as
with
a
him falling out?
shot?
Oh, no, that's a dope one.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good
okay.
one.
Oh, that's the good one. That's the shot of him falling out of bounds that
Mhm.
made what's it? Hubie Brown lost his mind when he hit that shot. He was falling out. That's from behind the
Yeah.
backboard, like one-handed a
Oof.
little bit. Everybody knows that shot. That was probably Luka's craziest shot in this series.
Yep.
Over Bjelica, who Bjelica's been getting torched for the Warriors, but he had a great game in game two. So
Mhm.
shout out to Bjelica for stepping up when they needed to. I think there were a lot of people surprised by that, but no, that's a good one. That's a good moment. That was worth it. That's way
That's a good
better than a
moment.
double.
Yep.
Obviously, a star player, a breakout player in the playoffs. It's a shame it's not a win, but who cares, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, when you
Yeah.
got a shot that cool. That's a moment where, immediately, like you kind of see now when you have the signature plays of the game of what's going to get top shotted. That was one where
Oh,
you were
yeah.
like, whew,
That's getting a moment. That's gonna be a moment. Yeah,
yeah,
like
peak
this
Luka
and
mania.
then the dunk that, Wiggins had on Luca. You're like, you know
Oh
that's gonna
yeah,
be a
no, no,
moment.
no.
Like
That,
that
yeah,
there's
that
no
Wiggins
doubt.
one. Yeah, without a
Oof.
doubt, they call it a body. Okay, that's a good one. So that's a good way to end it. That's for at least with Top Shot this time. No doubles this time. No
I
Justin and
wonder
I
which
going through
one
it.
I wonder which one they're going to say is better though, because PJ Tucker's serial number is lower than Luca's. Luca's is 3,563 over 8,250, and PJ's is 1,523. But obviously, Luca's the bigger name.
That's kind of my thing, is where it's like, obviously the serial's better, and I mean PJ Tucker's a pretty beloved player in NBA circles. Like I think everyone universally kind of has some respect here for
Yeah,
PJ Tucker. But man, Luca's Luca. Come on, like what are we talking
yeah,
about? Luca's top 10 player in the NBA, making that shot. Like
yeah.
well, I love PJ Tucker steals and blocks as much as the next guy. I think he's one of those guys you bring on the championship rosters. But listen, man, it's Luca. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's see what they're selling them for right now. Let's see if it might not. And my computer's running a little slower today than I would like, but we'll see if it pulls up real quick. So it looks like the top sale for this was $555.
That's what I'm saying.
There are 441 listed. The top sale was the number one cereal, which makes sense. The number two sold for 1,279 cereal. That was 150. Yeah, they're going for about $6-10 here. Mm.
Man, only with Luca. That's you think Luca maybe a little more just because that was a shot.
Well, I think that's why normally, like, if you're going low, like these would be like $2, $3. So I think Luca makes it at least six. The floor is at looks like it's at six here. So that kind of makes a little bit of sense. But
Yeah, yeah, no
either
doubt
way.
about it. Yeah, either way, the playoff series moments again, conference finals are out. The Magic Johnson drop just happened this week too, didn't it? The expensive one.
It's happening. I did actually get an email. I was reading an email about it before we jumped on this because I had it sitting in my box. Let me see if I pull it up real quick. I think it started. It either did happen or they're doing it again. I might have deleted it. Either way, yeah, but it was like $400. So no, thank you.
Yeah,
I
no,
can't. I can't. My hobby doesn't go that high in money wise. If I can
no,
buy
no.
these,
We
if
gotta
I can buy
listen.
these $19 packs and sell them and make $20 and then just buy another pack, I'm happy.
Yeah, we get the experience of it all, but yeah, unless if someone Venmo Justin $400, then we'll get the Magic Johnson pack, and I promise, look, we'll open them right here on the Driving the NBA
I
pod.
w-
Hell, if you listen, if you want to Venmo us $400 and you want to buy the pack and just get them all to you, that's fine. Like I just want to open it. I'm just here for the fun. Like I'm not. Y'all can do whatever
I
you want after that.
I will say if you do that, don't Venmo the money like that thinking I'm going to keep the moments because the second I can sell them for any kind of profit it's happening. Like
So if someone Venmo, well, I guess you have to specify whether you want to keep them or if it's out of the
yeah, you got to let
generosity of
us
your
know what's
heart.
going on. You got
Um,
to let me know the parameters here because I probably won't. I probably will if I have a chance I'm going for it. So
we say this a lot, but I mean, it sounds cliche as hell, but man, shout out to our listeners. You guys are so dope that you guys crowdfunded us to go to Vegas for Summer League that one year. Like that
back
was
in
one
the
of the
day, man.
coolest things on the planet, and we've still gotten to like. I mean, that was 4 or 5 years ago at this point now, which is crazy. Time is a flat circle, especially
Hmm.
in the pandemic. But I mean, like I know we say it all the time, but like we've been on for 9 seasons, and I don't think if you had told me in 2013 that this pod would still be rocking and have gotten to do all the things with it that we would have, and had as much fun with it as we would have. And this is not a subliminal for us saying farewell, by the way, FYI. Like, the finals are still going on. Like, hang on. If we were gonna, but no, that's just, you stop and think about it, because this is something that you and I do, basically out of fun, just for the love of it.
Passion
So that
play.
I
Yeah.
don't just like, I don't think my girlfriend just wants to hear all my irrational NBA thoughts. So, shout out to you guys for rocking out with us and being a part of this journey. It's certainly been it's been a lot of fun. I mean, like we said, it's been going since, geez, we started March 2014. It's June 2022 right now. So I'm pretty sure we passed our 500th episode. Probably should have done something for that. But the problem with
Nah.
us is that we have so many, like, most of the first 2 seasons are not online. Like, I would say it's probably in the third season is when they start getting on iTunes. We migrated servers way back in the day, and so they exist. We have them somewhere. They are just, like, if you wanted to go back and listen to the first episode, you're probably not going to find it anywhere.
Yeah.
But you can go. You can go back to 2015, and obviously, a ton of episodes with Tim, and then everything we've done since. So there's certainly a fun back catalog if you want to laugh at how right or wrong we were about certain things. But with
Right.
all that said, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you are not an Apple user, anywhere else you can find a podcast: Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play Store, Amazon Music, Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeart. Anywhere there's a podcast, you can find us.
Yep, and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us there. We have a video version of the podcast. Obviously, the pack rips. You can see the moments and kind of follow along for that. And obviously, a way that helps us grow is tell you got that basketball loving buddy. Tell them about the podcast. See if they like it. Have them check it out. And see if they want to join and listen to our crazy takes every single week.